All righty. Welcome, everybody. Hi. Welcome to our spring community meetings. At this time, I'm going to turn things over to our director, Keith Bynum, who's going to give us our official welcome.
Good afternoon and welcome to our spring 2023 community meeting. I'm Keith Bynum, Director of Housing and Community Development. Want to thank you again for coming out to our second uh, meeting of the spring. We've already done our first one, which was an in-person meeting on Tuesday, and this is our second one for the spring. If We have a lot of information to cover in this meeting. We will be discussing two draft plans. First, the 2023 Annual Action Plan. This plan outlines the strategies and goals for approximately $50 million in entitlement funds that we receive annually. We have incorporated what we've learned at our fall community meetings into a draft for 2023 Annual Action Plan. This plan identifies specific actions that HCD will take to help Houstonians live in a safe, affordable homes in communities that connect them to meaningful opportunities and services. Second, we will discuss the revised draft action plan for disaster recovery for the 2021 winter storm. HUD is allocating over $50 million for our recovery efforts. These funds will help Houston recover from the 2021 winter storm, increase our resilience, and prepare Houston for future disasters. Ultimately, our goal is to hear from you about how we can improve the lives of Houston households as we prepare the new action plan year. We also want to hear how we can recover from the 2021 winter storm and build a more resilient Houston. You are critical to helping us understand the needs of Houstonians. So please stay engaged. Give your input during the discussion groups and the public hearing segment because we want to hear from you and hear what you think of the information that has been provided to you today. So once again, want to thank you. Thanks all of you for taking your time to joining us. We realize you could have been doing other things, but we really do appreciate you taking a moment of your time to uh, visit with us and get engaged with this process. So at this time, I will turn it back over to Chris Robinson so she can start the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Director Keith Bynum. I appreciate that. As he said, my name is Chris Robinson. I'm a senior planner with the Housing and Community Development Department, and I'm excited to be with you all today, this afternoon, for our last spring community meeting of the year. Along with myself, you'll also hear from Mary Itts, who's a principal planner here at HCD, who will also give a bit of this presentation. And then also our Deputy Director, Derek Sellers, has joined us, who will be moderating our public hearing segment of this meeting. Alrighty, so here's our agenda. We're going to do a brief overview of the department, and then I will turn things over to Miss Mary Itts, who's going to talk about our winter storm funds. And then I'll come back to you guys and talk a little bit about our annual action plan for our entitlement funds. And then we are going to hear from you guys. We'll open up the floor for our public comments about our action plans, and then we'll go into discussion groups, and then we'll briefly open up for a few more comments from the attendees, and then we'll close down with some final remarks and hopefully give you guys some good resources to leave with. Alrighty, so as I said, I'm going to go over just the department and what to expect during these meetings. So at HCD, we envision a city where everyone has a home that they can afford in a community where they can thrive. And we achieve this vision through several ways. We provide affordable housing or affordable homes. We also provide infrastructure and neighborhood services. We also improve community and economic development. And we also provide and support supportive services. So to work towards this mission, we have about 9 goals that we try to adhere to. We preserve and expand affordable homes by building or repairing homes. We expand home ownership opportunities by providing down payment assistance to first time home buyers. And we provide housing and supportive services to families and individuals who have been affected by HIV or AIDS. We also do things like reducing homelessness, improving quality of life, revitalizing communities, promoting health and safety, fostering economic development, and promoting fair housing. So, in order to do this, we get funding from all kinds of sources. As you can see on this screen, there are so many sources. There's FEMA, there are bonds, there are TERS, money from the city's general fund, from the Treasury, from the Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs, and so on. And we also get funds from HUD. This is the big purple one. We're going to focus on some of the funds that we receive from HUD today. As I said, we get so many funds from different sources. And so with HUD, there more than just what you see on the screen here. But today we're going to focus on our federal formula grants. So that includes CDBG, HOME, HOPWA, and ESG. And those are all included in our draft 2023 annual action plan. Those are funds that we receive on an annual basis. And we'll cover all of those and what those acronyms mean a little bit later on in the presentation. But then we also have this new funding source that's called CDBG DR21. And those funds are set aside to help with recovering from the 2021 winter storm and building resiliency in Houston. And so we have an action plan as well that's going to cover our strategies for spending those dollars. So right now, I'm going to turn things over to Ms. Mary Itz, who's going to cover our action plan for the winter storm.
Thank you, Chris. Hi, everyone. My name is Mary Itz, and I'll be discussing the draft action plan for disaster recovery from the 2021 winter storm today. The Disaster Recovery Action Plan is the application for and description of the grant funds called Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery, also known as CDBG-DR. These funds are allocated by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD, and will assist with long-term recovery in Houston from the impacts of the 2021 winter storm. Also, these funds will help improve resilience in preparation for future disaster events. Our original allocation of $30.2 million was announced in May of 2022. In January of this year, HUD announced an additional allocation of $19.7 million, making our total allocation a little over $50 million. Different from past disaster recovery grants that we've received, this grant requires the city to spend at least 15% of its unmet needs allocation, which is about $6.5 million, for mitigation activities. Mitigation activities increase resilience to disasters by lessening the impact of future disasters in order to reduce or eliminate the long-term risk of loss of life, injury, damage to and loss of property, and suffering and hardship. To summarize the major grant requirements, the city has 6 years to spend these funds. At least 70% of all activities must provide benefit to low and moderate income Houstonians. Activities must address an impact from the disaster, either direct or indirect. So all activities must tie back to the impacts from the 2021 winter storm. And finally, activities must be eligible under the Community Development Block Grant CDBG guidelines. Generally, CDBG eligible activities fall into 4 categories. Housing is the first, like home repair, reconstruction, developing new affordable homes, or providing homeowner assistance. Second, improving infrastructure for things like streets, sidewalks, water infrastructure, or building community facilities. Third, activities can be go to supportive services like funding nonprofit organizations to assist Houstonians with health services, workforce training, or housing counseling. And finally, CDBG DR funds can be used for supporting economic development activities like making loans to small businesses. In order to understand the needs of Houstonians after the storm, we had multiple points of community engagement, mainly in the summer of 2022. We deployed a partner survey that garnered responses from over 100 organizations. We reached over 1,100 people through our resident survey. We also held a public hearing back in August, and we're hosting another one today. And we also hosted one on Tuesday evening. And we currently have a comment period open for the updated draft action plan for disaster recovery. This comment period is open through April 27th. During this engagement, residents identified the top unmet needs of the winter storm as home repair for owner-occupied homes, the improvement of city infrastructure to withstand future disaster events, and the improvement of community facilities to be resources for Houstonians during disaster events. And now I'll talk about the budget. The CDBG DR grant budget now includes the new allocation announced in January, which makes the total grant $50 million. The budget includes $38.4 million for the rehabilitation reconstruction pathway for our home repair program, over $1.6 million for the reimbursement pathway of our home repair program, $6.7 million for the neighborhood facilities resilience, about $500,000 for renter housing counseling, and $200,000 for planning activities. We've also set aside $2.5 million for administrative costs related to this grant. There were three budget categories that we increased with the new allocation amounts, which include the home repair, rehabilitation and reconstruction pathway, the neighborhood facilities resilience budget line item, and administration. Our programs are consistent with what we presented last summer, and I'll go into a little bit of detail about the programs now. First, our home repair program, or home repair, was found to be a main need in our needs assessment. We heard from stakeholders that many residents live in homes that have damage from the winter storm, and many other Houstonians just have deferred maintenance that can put them at risk in future disasters. So the winter storm home repair program will help improve affordable homes throughout Houston, which will give residents a safer place to stay in future disasters. Next, another component of the winter storm program will be the reimbursement pathway, which will assist homeowners who have completed either partial or full repairs on their home. The budget is about $1.6 million for this pathway. Next, HCD will fund grants to nonprofit organizations to provide housing counseling to Houston renters, using about $500,000 for this initiative. These services will support renters to become more resilient in future disasters. Services may include, but aren't limited to, housing counseling, tenant-landlord counseling, fair housing, financial literacy, applying for public and private resources, and even interim assistance, which may include payment of renters' insurance premiums. And finally, the Neighborhood Facilities Resilience Program will fund improvements to neighborhood facilities owned either by the government, a government agency, or a nonprofit organization to withstand power disruptions in future disaster events. Building improvements may include, but aren't limited to, adding power generation or power storage. These public facilities are intended to serve community before, during, and after disasters in capacities such as serving as a warming center and a distribution point after disaster, providing those critical resources that community members need. And right now we'll go through we want to hear back from you. A poll should have popped up on your screen for you to choose from the above. The question is, which 2 budgeted activities would you prioritize for this funding? A is reimburse homeowners for completed repairs. B is repair or reconstruct homes. C, provide households with renter housing counseling. D, improve power resilience of neighborhood facilities. And E, another activity that's not listed here. So I'll take a couple minutes for y'all to put in your answers. And if you do say other, we'd love to hear from you in the chat what type of other activities you would prioritize with these disaster recovery funds. And I think whenever you're ready, Chris, if you want to close that out. I want to quickly walk through the grant timeline for the recent grant activities. In January, oh, great. In January, the rules for the additional disaster recovery funding were published in the Federal Register. We've developed a draft action plan, an updated draft action plan, which is currently posted for a 30-day comment period. And after the comment period, we'll incorporate the comments and finalize the plan. We'll ask for City Council approval of the plan in May, and we'll submit the plan to HUD before the deadline at the end of May. So please note, we expect to receive this grant funding in late 2023, but this could change depending on HUD's review process. And once we receive the approval from HUD, we will start these programs. Going back to the poll, I think the majority was A and B of responses. The priorities were A and B, reimburse homeowners for completed repairs and reimburse homeowners, oh, those 2. And I think the home repair for homeowners were the most selected. And now I'll turn it back over to Chris to discuss our other action plan, the 2023 annual action plan.
Thank you. So it looks like the poll kind of reflects what our budget looks like. So that's a good point to note. So now I am going to talk about our annual action plan for 2023. And also just thank you, Mary, for presenting that information about the winter storm. So let's just start with the planning process. As our director said earlier, we do fall community meetings every year. And this past fall was no different. And we came to the public asking for information about how we should develop our annual action plan for our entitlement funds. After that, we went into the drafting stage for our action plan. And so now we're coming back to you all in the spring, showcasing some of the information that's in that action plan. Most particularly, our budgets and activities are going to be in this presentation, but it's a document that I think is worth looking at and commenting on. And so we're in our comment period right now. Of course, you can make a comment during our meetings. You know, we held a meeting on Tuesday on the 28th. It was at Acres Homes Multi-Service Center. sponsor, and now we're hosting one virtually. But the public comment period will extend through April 13th. So please go to our website and look at our plan and all the information that's in there. And feel free to make a written comment. And we'll go through other ways that you can comment later on in this presentation. After that public comment period has ended, though, we will take in all those comments, respond, include those comments in our final draft, and then get it approved by City Council and submit it to HUD, and then wait for HUD to approve it. Once it's been approved, we will start our action plan year in July, and then we'll implement that plan over the next year. And then once that program year has closed, we'll draft a report outlining all of the things that we accomplished based on what we said we would do. And so this is a way for us to hold ourselves accountable and for you to hold us accountable and for HUD to hold us accountable through our CAPER. And we just posted our CAPER back in September from the program year 2021. So that is available for you to look at to see what we've been accomplishing over the last few years. But let's talk specifically about the action plan. So HCD receives about $50 million every year in federal formula grants from HUD. Again, so these grants are CDBG, that's the Community Development Block Grant. There's also HOME, the Home Investment Partnerships Grant. We have HOPWA, which is a grant for housing opportunities for persons living with HIV or AIDS. And then we also have ESG, which is known as the Emergency Solutions Grant. So with our CDBG funds, we repair homes, we expand home ownership opportunities, we provide public services, we improve or develop public facilities, and we also execute economic development. And again, this all ties back to our goals and our overall mission that we have at HCD. Now with our home grant, we build and rehabilitate affordable homes for renters and homeowners, and we'll talk a little bit about those programs. With HOPWA, again, we provide housing and social services for persons or families who have been affected by HIV or AIDS. And then with our ESG grant, we shelter and support services, provide shelter and support services for people who are experiencing homelessness currently or for people who are at risk of homelessness. So here's what our draft 2023 annual plan cover looks like. Like I said, it's a pretty lengthy document, and you can go to our housing website at www.houstontx.gov/housing, and it's there on the main page where you can open up the PDF, you can download it and read the document. But let's talk about what's in it. This is a strategic plan with our goals and objectives that we hope to accomplish over the next year. It allocates, again, that $50 million in federal formula grants, they're also known as federal entitlement grants, to activities for the next year. And so that next year is program year 2023, and it spans from July of 2023 through June of 2024. And again, it talks about all the ways that we hope to improve the lives of Houstonians through housing, public facilities, infrastructure, improving health and safety, quality of life, especially for low and moderate income Houstonians. So let's talk about our budget. As I said, it's over $50 million. As of February, I think it was 27th, 2023, HUD posted its allocations for every jurisdiction across the nation. HUD allocated to us $52.3 million in total. So this number that you see, there's a little asterisk there. That means there's a grant award that they gave us plus program income. And there's a little note at the bottom of how much program income we expect to receive. That would total about $281,000. So we added that to our total grant award to get us the $53 $52.3 million. So specifically for CDBG, our grant allocation is $24.9 million. For our home grant, we expect to receive $11.9 million from HUD. With our Hopwood grant, we anticipate $13.2 million. And then with ESG, HUD has allocated $2.1 million to us. So again, that totals $52.3 million. Now let's talk about each of these buckets of funding, and we'll just try to cover what the goals are for each program and give the budget as well. So CDBG is probably one of the most versatile grants that we have because we can use these funds, again, for home repair, home ownership opportunities, public services, economic development, public facilities, and so forth. So here's the budget, and I'll go through each of these line items, and I'll try to go slowly so that you guys can capture this information. So again, our estimated total budget for CDBG is $24.9 million. And of that allocation, we've allocated about $5.3 million to home repair. We have allocated $5 million to public facilities and improvements. Together with public services and the ESG Solutions Match Grant. This is how much we'll provide for public services. It's about $4.1 million. For code enforcement, we've allocated about $2.7 million. For home ownership assistance, we allocated $2 million. For economic development, about $500,000. Lead-based paint activities, over $192,000. And for program administration, we allocated $4.9 million. Okay, so let's talk about the goals for that grant. With all of those funds, again, $24.9 million, we anticipate providing public services for over 10,000 households, providing public services to 2,100 households to reduce homelessness. We expect to improve 2 public facilities, execute 32,000 code enforcement visits, abate 50 homes with lead-based paint, remediations, repair and reconstruct 31 homes, and provide direct financial assistance to 31 low and moderate income first-time home buyers. So on the left, what you see is Windsor Park. It is one of the public amenities that HCD will help to renovate and complete during the next year, and that's PY 2023. This renovation of Windsor Park includes a splash pad, some exercise stations, a playground, a trail, some accessibility improvements, and the improvement of other recreational features. So hopefully this will be completed, and I think it'll be a lovely park once it's done. Now with our CDBG dollars, as I mentioned, we have allocated $5.3 million to this activity. The goal is to preserve affordable housing. And so we repair homes if we can. If there's substantial damage, we'll actually reconstruct that home from the ground up. And so again, we expect to repair about 31 homes over the next year. This program assists households who are, again, low and moderate income families. So that means that they are at or below 80% of the area median income in Houston. And we give special consideration to seniors who are over 62, to households who have children who are under the age of 18, and also to families or individuals who are living with disabilities. I think it's your right. Sorry, my direction is a little off today. But to the right, you'll see the Surf family and their home that was reconstructed through the home repair program. And after many storms over the past few years, Mr. Surf, he could see through the sky through his roof from all of the storm damage. And despite all of the the temporary tarps to cover the holes in his home. He would spend a lot of rainy days returning empty buckets to the outside so that he could empty out these buckets that were full of water. And so now with his newly reconstructed home, he doesn't have that problem anymore, and he's happy about his home. It's safe. Um, and he said he was going to turn one of his rooms into a man cave. So this is one of our success stories, and we have so many more to share. And we hope to continue providing this going forward in the next year. So what I would like to do is also take a poll, and I want to see what you all think about the budget that we've allocated to home repair. You should see it coming up on your screen here shortly. But tell us, would you like to increase the budget for home repair? Would you like to decrease it, or do you think we should keep it as is? Let me know what you guys think, and I'll wait for a few of the responses to come in. I see there's a little competition between increasing the budget and keeping it as is. Right now, it's about 50-50. I'll leave the poll open for just a few minutes, and then I'll close it once we get to our next poll. But thank you guys for participating. I appreciate that. This is very helpful for us. Okay, with our home buyer assistance program, again, our goal is to serve about 33 first-time home buyers. So in an effort to expand home ownership opportunities, we actually provide home ownership opportunities through this program by paying up to $50,000 for income qualified residents for their down payment cost and for closing costs. And right now we've allocated about $2 million towards that effort. And if you think that you qualify for this program, please go online. Again, go to our main web page and you can navigate to the Home Buyers Hub, and you'll see all of the programs that can help you purchase a home. And the family that you see to the right, the Diascali family, they are one of the households that were assisted through our home buyer choice program, which provides home buyer assistance. And you can see their little son. They have a bigger family than what's shown in this photo, but they are also excited about being able to purchase their home. And this is actually their home that they purchased, and it was the home of their choice, which is also affordable. And they said it's a blessing and that they're grateful. They got to choose this home in a good school district of their choice. And so they're excited about creating opportunities for their children and for their future by having this affordable home option. So now I'm going to close the other poll, and I would like for you guys to take the poll about the home buyer assistance program. Let us know if you would also increase this budget or decrease it or keep it as is. We would love your input on this one as well. And I'll wait just a few seconds to get some answers in. I see a lot of responses of keeping the budget as is, but right now it looks like increasing the budget is the top response. Okay, I'll leave that one open as well until we get to the next poll. So feel free to change your answer if you think a little differently later. Now, let's talk about the Home Investment Partnerships Grant, which is really focused on building new and rehabilitating affordable homes for renters and homeowners. Our multifamily, sorry, here's the budget. Again, it's $11.9 million. We've budgeted about $7.7 million for multifamily rehabilitations and developments. $1.7 million has been allocated to single family developments, and then $1 million has been allocated to planning and administration. So in 2023, HCD expects to develop 12 affordable single-family homes through its CHODOs using home funds. So CHODO stands for Community Housing Development Organizations. And what you see on the screen is, and this is to the left, is a home of our from our Choto that's called A Caring Safe Place. And they are hoping to have this home online and available for purchase. I think by the end of this month, for sure by the beginning of the next program year. And it's in the Cedar-Gast community. And I'm told there's an additional 5 homes that are also supposed to be coming online. So please go online, take a look at the things that we're doing, especially this is another way for you to purchase a home if you're interested in becoming a home buyer. With our multifamily program, we expect to develop 71 affordable multifamily homes. And again, you'll see the light rail lofts on this screen. Of those 71 rentals units that we anticipate creating, 29 will come from the light rail lofts. And so this is a great development that's going to provide permanent supportive housing to veterans who are experiencing homelessness. And there will be about 14,000 square feet of office space for supportive services to be provided for our veterans here at this facility. Now, for our HOPWA grant, we provide housing and social services for people with HIV or AIDS and their families. And let's take a look at the proposed budget. The total is $13.2 million. We've budgeted $5.1 million for rental assistance, $2 million to, $2.9 million to short-term rent, mortgage, and utility subsidies, another $2.2 million to supportive services, $1.1 million has been allocated to operating costs, over $200,000 has been allocated to resource identification, and then a total of $900,000 has been allocated to administration. And now I'm going to close out our previous poll and launch another one. This one, we want you to rank the HOPWA activities and tell us what your most important activity would be. You can drag and drop them in the order that you would like. And hopefully we'll get some good responses here. I'll give you a few seconds to answer that poll. There are about 6 responses right now. I see rental assistance is the most or the highest. And our budget kind of reflects that. We are, again, allocating $5.1 million to that effort. So please continue to answer that question as we go through this presentation. There will be another poll, and then I'll close that one out. Okay, so our goals for HOPWA. We provide many services through this grant. In 2023, HCD anticipates assisting over 2,600 households with this grant through rental assistance, rental mortgage utility subsidies, and our permanent or transitional shelter facilities that we fund, and also providing wraparound or supportive services. And you can see some of the goals on the screen here. Now for ESG, we provide shelter and supportive services for people who are experiencing homelessness or at risk of homelessness. And here is the budget. Again, it's a total of $2.1 million that HUD allocated to us. We have budgeted $1 million for emergency shelter, over $500,000 to rapid rehousing, over $300,000 to homeless prevention, and another $85,000 to the Homeless Management Information System, also known as HMIS. And this is the system where individuals come to be triaged into the right services that will best assist them if they are experiencing homelessness or are at risk of homelessness. And then we've also allocated $159,000 to administration. So now I will open up our last important poll here. And of course, this one is about ESG. And you'll do the same thing as the previous poll. Just drag and drop The top concern should go towards the top, and we'll look at what the most important activities are to you. Cool. I see a little bit of movement. Thank you guys for responding. Emergency shelter was at number one, and now rapid rehousing seems to be one of the most important activities. So thank you guys for participating. I will leave that poll open until the end of this part of the presentation, and then I'll close it out. So through our ESG funding in 2023, we expect to assist 75 households through rent, utilities, and relocation or stabilization services. Another 85 households will be assisted with rapid rehousing, similar to the services that we provide under HOPWA. And then 1,000 people will be served with emergency shelter. And so I just want to open up the conversation now because we really want to hear from you all. We want to get your input on the draft plans that we've presented on today. We have the draft 2023 annual action plan and the draft action plan for disaster recovery that's related to the winter storm of 2021. And we want to know, are there any things that we need to increase or decrease? Any programs that we might need to change or tailor? And if there's better ways to communicate with residents and stakeholders about our programs and priorities, we should know that as well. So now at this time, I'm going to turn things over to our Deputy Director, Derek Sellers, who's going to moderate our public comment portion of this meeting.
Good afternoon. Thanks, Chris. So as Chris was saying, it's time to begin the public hearing portion for this agenda. This is your opportunity to provide us public comment and feedback on everything that you've heard today, and we definitely want to hear from you. If you want to make a public comment live, we're going to show you some ways on the screen. Primarily, we'll do it through Teams here, and I'll explain a little bit how that's going to work here in just a few minutes. But we also take it by phone at 936-755-1521, and we have codes in both English and Spanish. So English is 103-305-474#, and then in Spanish it's 795-643-572#. So a little bit about the ground rules for the public hearing. Each speaker is going to get 3 minutes to provide their testimony. There is no yielding of time to another person. When you start speaking, we ask that you state your first name and last name. And then we've discussed two different action plans today as part of this presentation. The first one being our draft 2023 annual action plan. Our second one being our draft action plan for disaster recovery related to the storms in 2021. So when you start your testimony, we ask that you state which one you want to speak about. Just so you know, we are recording and transcribing your comments today. We will take summaries of that and include it with our submissions to HUD for both of these documents. Just for awareness, this isn't a Q&A session. So this is more of your comments, your feedback on these two plans or what you've heard today from us. So how this will work is for those here on Teams, if you'd like to provide a comment, a public comment today, at the top of your screen, there's an icon with a hand that says raise underneath it. It sits between the people icon and the react icon. So if you hit that hand raised icon, that signals us that you'd like to make a public comment. I will call your name, first and last name. I apologize now if I don't say it correctly, and that's some of the reason why we get you to say your name also. But I'll call your name, and then that 3-minute clock will start. We'll have some prompts on the screen to kind of help you know where you're at in that 3 minutes. And then once you're completed, we'll move on to the next one. So we'll go through everybody here on Teams first, and then afterwards, we'll get to those people that might be on the phone line that might want to provide a public comment. So if you would like to make a public comment, now is the time to go ahead and hit that hand raise button at the top of your team screen. to let us know. So at this point in time, I'm not seeing anybody raise their hand yet. We'll give it a little bit longer just in case. And I'm only seeing one person on the line here that's got their phone in. If you would like to make a public comment, last four numbers is 9330. You can hit *6 to unmute yourself. So that's an option for you. All right, going once, going twice. Okay, is Kristen's? Oh, we had one pop up right here at the end. I see Anne. Feel free to unmute yourself and state your name and tell us what you want to speak about.
Hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yes, my name is Antoinette Ketchum, and I would like to speak in regards to the draft action plan for the recovery funds for the Winter Storm Uri. My proposal is to make an allocation for renters. A lot of what I see is directed towards homeowners or people that are in the process of home ownership. However, if there were an ability to provide direct grant payments to those low to moderate income housing voucher families whose vouchers were abated due to the damages caused by Winter Storm Uri, that also have documented out-of-pocket expenses that they incurred during the time until their vouchers were reinstated.
All right, thank you, Anne. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Sonia Myers.
Hi, can you hear me?
I can.
Awesome. Thanks for the invite. This is Sonia Myers. I'm with Hope Disaster Recovery, and my comment is in two different programs. So for the winter storm, the home repair program for the budget, honestly, we've been repairing homes from winter storm since the winter storm in 2021, and we're not finding massive destruction. So when I did the division there, 31 homes by the grant amount, that's quite a lot per home. I might suggest that you consider including more homes, but use the same budget. So a lesser dollar figure per home. And then the second thing was on the ESG. Homelessness is a major problem that we're finding. So any increase in budgeting amounts, either for rehousing, preventing, sheltering, that seems to be a drastic need that we're finding in our community. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Sonia. Okay, anybody else? If you'd like to, just raise your hand and we'll get to you. Okay, so even after this public comment process is over here in today's agenda, we do have other ways for you to comment on our action plans that we've discussed today. Online at houstontx.gov/housing, that's our housing community development website. You'll find a copy of both of these action plans. There's also ways to submit your comments via the website. We take it by email at hcdplanning@houstontx.gov. You can send it by mail to our offices at HCD Attention Planning and Grant Reporting. That's 2100 Travis Street, the 9th floor, Houston 77002. We also take it by voicemail from 832-394-5400. And we'll take comments until April the 3rd. So you've got a little bit of time. We encourage you to come read through this document that we've discussed, get a little more information, then give us your feedback. So at this time, I'll turn it back over to Chris for the next part of the presentation.
Thank you, Derek. Sorry, I am talking in the background to get you all prepared for these discussion groups. Thank you so much for moderating that segment, and thank you for those who did comment. We'll again open up the floor a little bit later after our discussion groups, just in case you all want to say anything else before we adjourn. But as of right now, we are going to go into group discussions. They will be facilitated by HCD staff member, and we'll allocate about 20 minutes to this exercise. So bear with me, give me about 10 to 15 seconds as Microsoft transitions you into your breakout groups. What I would like to do right now, because everybody's microphones are still open, I think, Patrick, I'll start with Kim's room. Patrick, you were in the middle of stating something, and you can talk now or make it an official public comment if you like. But please tell us what you were discussing earlier with Kim about, I think it was home repair.
Yeah, just for
Home
the
ownership, and yeah.
I think it's the home ownership assistance, and then also the home repair. And it's just kind of similar to Sonia's comment, just thinking about increasing the breadth of assistance to more people. I had a question on the math for at least the home ownership assistance. You know, at $2 million and 33 people, that's $66,000 per person. And that's more than the 50,000 that you had indicated was the limit. And so just kind of thinking about that's, you know, that's significant assistance and certainly will help a lot of people. But if that number was halved, you could double it or something like that. And so thinking about how to mix the breadth and depth to balance out and to really help the most number of people significantly. And I understand that that's a hard tension to balance, but and it's similar with the kind of home repair, like at $160,000 per person for 31 homes. That's quite a lot. So I'm just curious about kind of what we think the average needs are for both the home ownership assistance and then a home repair, and thinking about how to impact more families, more people.
Sure. Thank you. I will say when we're talking about home buyer assistance, so the budget includes the actual down payment that's given to the families up to $50,000, but we also have administrative costs that come with that. So that may be the difference that's calculated there when you're doing your math. But thank you so much for commenting on that and being a very active participant in your group. Mary, I didn't know if with your group you wanted to just say a last few words before you give a report out on what was discussed.
I don't think so. Nobody was quite in the middle of a sentence. So
Okay. Well, since your mic is on, will you tell me what maybe some of the top ideas were that came out of your group?
Sure. We talked first about neighborhood facilities resilience. We had we didn't quite come to a conclusion, but we definitely went around and we talked about kind of the importance of generators for those large facilities during a disaster is very, very important. We talked about some tree trimming that needs to happen because there's a lot of utility lines that are impacted when a disaster happens, such as the winter storm. We talked about how there need to be road improvements in many of our neighborhoods that the roads are not well maintained. And we talked about perhaps more funding should be going to staff members at those facilities during a disaster, like emergency first responders or other people during that work at those community facilities during a disaster. Next, we talked about our next topic was affordable homes in disaster recovery. We had some questions about do people really need reimbursement funding anymore, and how much is that rehabilitation? We had one of our members say that they're finding that rehabilitation ranges from $15,000 to $30,000. But they liked the qualifications that we have listed low and moderate income people, seniors, people with small children or children. We also talked about the expansion of affordable housing that's needed. So perhaps funding should be going to expanding affordable housing rather than just preserving it. And such as like building multifamily homes. And then we also discussed the importance of renters and serving their needs.
Okay, thank you. Sounds like y'all had a pretty robust conversation. Kim, will you be the spokesperson for your group? I know you guys probably didn't get to that point of selecting a person. Can you just tell me some of the highlights of your conversation?
Sure. So some of the highlights we discussed were for resiliency, being able to identify those neighborhoods that actually need the help and make sure that there is an overlap in resources, things like that. Also, as far as reimbursement or for reconstruction, getting the word out, making sure people are aware and how they're able to apply for those benefits. And there were suggestions, maybe put something in the water bill so that it can be dispersed to everyone. For home ownership, I mean, Patrick did kind of go over that as far as increasing, but I also wanted to just state that part of that home ownership, everyone would not, out of the 33 homes we have, everyone won't be getting 50,000. So it's just depending on their needs, pretty much is basically how I understand it to be. And, making sure that there is more of an impact for home repair and that families are able to get their needs met. So those are just some of the highlights that our team discussed.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you to everybody who spoke up during this part of the conversation. I know it's always hard and difficult, especially when it's virtual. So thank you for that. Right now, I do want to open the floor to anyone who would like to make a public comment on the record. Now is the time to do so. Please open your mic. You can raise your hand if you like, and then I'll call on you now if you would like to make a public comment. If not, then right now I will ask, I think our director has stepped off the call, but Derek, are there any final words that you would like to leave us with before we part?
Yeah, absolutely. First up, I want to thank everybody for taking the time out today to join us. Your attendance here, especially in this way, shows how much you care about this work, that we're doing, the city that you live in, your communities. And so we truly appreciate your feedback and talking with us about both of these annual action plans today. As was stated earlier, they're both available on our website. We encourage you to go check those out. So you can see more specifics around what's being proposed for these funds, and also to get more feedback if something strikes you as you review the documents. I want to thank all the departmental staff that takes part in this. These things aren't always easy. We've kind of gotten it down to a science over the last few years, but it still takes a lot of work and effort to get this going. So thank you to everyone that helps make this virtual presentation happen. And specifically to our planning team, Chris, Mary, and everybody else on the planning team for everything that you do in putting these together. But with that being said, I hope everybody has a great evening and enjoy the first day of baseball. So.
Thank you. Thank you. So before we go, let me just leave a few resources with you guys. If you have been impacted by an event or even before an event, please sign up for our alerts that are sent out through HoustonEmergency.org or through HoustonOEM.org. You can get preparedness resources or just stay up to date about what's happening before or during a disastrous event. Also, during or after an event, you can visit HoustonRecovers.org, or you can visit Houston311.org, or just call 311 and someone will provide assistance or resources for you to help you recover. Also, every Wednesday we have our community office hours from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. The numbers are kind of hard to see on there, but just call our main line at 832-394-6400. And somebody can direct you to the staff who participates in this effort. During that time, we answer questions about program requirements or status application, or excuse me, application status for anything that you've applied for, or we can just answer general questions if you have them. Even though we have concluded our spring community meetings, please comment on our draft plans. The action plan will be available for public comment through April 13th, and the draft action plan for disaster recovery through the 27th. Excuse me. And then we also have a home buyer fair and Easter egg hunt on Saturday, April 6th from 1 to 3 p.m. It's going to be at the Wesley AME Church, so please join us for that. We're going to be talking about all the new homes that we have developed with other funding sources. So please join us if you are interested in buying a home. And here are the ways that you can comment on these draft plans. You can comment online. You can email us at hcdplanning@houstontx.gov. You can mail us. Just put at the attention of Planning and Grant Reporting. Our address is 2100 Travis Street on the 9th floor, Houston, Texas 77002. Or you can call us and leave a voicemail. That number is 832-394-5400. And with that, please rate our meetings. Tell us what you thought, how we can improve. Give us 4 stars, hopefully, but if not, if it's less than that, just tell us what we can do better, and we'll make those improvements as we go along. We are ever evolving. And with that, thank you again to all of the staff who participated today. Thank you to everyone who showed up, because we know you had other things to do. So thank you so much, and you all have a good afternoon.